The live-action adaptation of One Piece is making a sensational debut. The series is co-directed by Hannibal and the Good Doctor directors. After careful selection from numerous countries, they chose several actors who closely resemble the original characters. The reason the boy's hand can infinitely stretch is that he ate a devil fruit. His name is Luffy, and he dreams of becoming the Pirate King. 10 years later, Luffy has grown up, drifting at sea every day in search of treasure. Since the legendary pirate Roger was killed, the treasure One Piece he left behind has become the target of many pirates, and the entire world has entered the chaotic Great Pirate Era. Luffy had no companions. He set out alone in search of One Piece. When facing danger, he would hide inside a barrel and let the sea carry him away. Luffy drifted between two ships in the middle of a battle. As one side emerged victorious, the barrel containing Luffy was taken as a trophy aboard the ship. The pirates on the ship were searching for the pirate hunter Zoro's whereabouts.
Who's the most powerful pirate on the seas? Captain Almeida!
Meanwhile, Kobe didn't really want to be a pirate. He aspired to join the Marines. However, he had no choice but to be stuck on the Almeida ship. Luckily, he encountered Luffy one night. Luffy helped him break free from the predicament. Even though Luffy was alone, he fought like an army of thousands.
What kind of a monster are you?
The treasure kind.
He reached out his arm and grabbed a rope. No matter how many enemies there were, he agilely dodged their attacks. Almeida couldn't defeat Luffy and redirected her anger toward Kobe, but Luffy intervened to protect Kobe from the onslaught. Luffy had had enough and decided to stretch his arm to its maximum length. Then, he sent Almeida flying over 100 kilometers away into the sea. At the same time, the pirate hunter Zoro was beginning his mission. Zoro waited on Six's island for his target. The opponent didn't take Zoro seriously, so he decided to show them the strength of a true warrior. Zoro carried the head of his target to claim his reward. After entering the town, he took a break at a bar. Coincidentally, Luffy and Kobe were also at the same bar. Zoro witnessed a Marine officer bullying a child and immediately taught the Marine officer a lesson. His movements were graceful and heroic, without noticing a thief stealing from the unconscious Marine officer. The thief's name was Nami, and her specialty was theft. She often pretended to be helpless, lying on a ship, waiting for someone to come to the rescue. When encountering ruthless pirates, she would simply steal their ships. Nami and Luffy shared the same goal, which was to find One Piece left behind by Roger. The treasure map was in the possession of the Marines' 153rd branch in Shell's Town, so they had to find a way to infiltrate the branch. Taking advantage of Zoro's intervention, Nami stole a Marine uniform. The next day, she blended in with the Marines' ranks and entered the castle. Meanwhile, Luffy didn't sit idle. He climbed up from below through a duct, intending to enter the castle directly. However, he discovered Zoro, who had been captured and bound. It turned out that the Marine officer Zoro fought against the previous day was no ordinary opponent. He was the son of the commander of the 153rd branch. Despite Zoro's efforts in pursuing pirates, the commanders still punished him. Zoro was detained for 7 days before being allowed to leave. Zoro didn't want to provoke the commander, so he had no choice but to accept the punishment. Luffy couldn't understand his stubbornness. Zoro could have easily escaped, but he chose to be trapped here for the sake of so-called rules. Luffy didn't hesitate to rescue Zoro before entering the castle to steal the treasure map. Inside, he encountered Nami and they decided to work together. The two of them made their way to the commander's room, where they finally found the safe containing the treasure map.
That's your idea?
Yeah.
The two of them successfully pulled the safe down, but facing a multitude of Marine officers, it was still a tough battle for just the two of them. Fortunately, Zoro believed in repaying kindness. Seeing this situation, he immediately joined the fight. Despite being a pirate hunter, it didn't stop him from forming an alliance with the pirates in this moment. The three of them formed a small team to take on the commander. At first, their teamwork was lacking, and they couldn't defeat the commander with their individual attacks. However, they slowly started to find their rhythm. Luffy and Zoro decided to coordinate with each other, with one engaging in close combat and the other providing long-range support. This move solidified Zoro's status as an enemy of the Marine. He could only carry the safe and join Luffy. The three of them continued their journey together. However, Kobe had decided not to go along with Luffy anymore. He wanted to join the Marine. Perhaps the next time they met, Kobe and Luffy would be on opposite sides. but he wouldn't forget the help Luffy had given him. Luffy, in turn, didn't mind that they were on different paths because everyone had their own ambitions. Now, Luffy had new companions of his own. They set sail, and what awaited them was a journey filled with excitement and adventure. Luffy had worked hard to obtain the treasure map, but he had already encountered a great crisis. Today, Luffy was studying the treasure map with Nami. On the side, Zoro was curious about the map's significance. When he heard that whoever possessed this map would rule the world, he became interested as well. The three of them were working hard to decipher the route. Unexpectedly, the sky suddenly erupted with red fireworks that turned into a thick fog when they dispersed. Nami and Zoro fell unconscious. Luffy was afraid that someone might steal the treasure map, so he quickly stuffed it into his stomach. He had eaten a devil fruit, which allowed any part of his body to stretch at will. Just before losing consciousness, he took one last look out the window and realized that the newcomers were not the Marine but pirates. Indeed, when they woke up, a circus appeared before them. Soon, the ringmaster made a flashy entrance. He was Buggy the Clown. He shared the same dream as Luffy and his crew, which was to find the treasure left behind by the former pirate king. Nami didn't know that Luffy had swallowed the treasure map. In order to save her own life, she didn't hesitate to betray Luffy. Unfortunately, when Nami managed to escape, she found the city in ruins. It turned out that this small town had already been destroyed by Buggy's pirate crew. Even the town's residents had been imprisoned. The audience at the scene were the townspeople. Buggy, now the self-proclaimed king of this place, learned that Luffy and his crew had taken the treasure map. He immediately used his mysterious smoke to capture Luffy and the others. Nami's tools and Zoro's weapons were confiscated, and Buggy's underlings took them into custody. As for Luffy, he was kept for further interrogation. Buggy suspected that the treasure map might be hidden on Luffy, given that Luffy, like him, had eaten a devil fruit. He had Luffy's limbs stretched out 10 meters and tied up. However, even in this condition, Luffy refused to reveal the whereabouts of the treasure map. Not even 20 or 30 meters would have any effect on him. If it weren't for Buggy taking an innocent child as a hostage, Luffy would have been willing to continue playing with him.
Put him down. But why? He's
With a
having
single
such
punch,
a great
Luffy knocked
time.
Buggy's head off, but he didn't expect that Buggy could quickly repair himself. Buggy had consumed the Barabara no Mi devil fruit, which allowed him to reassemble his body even if it was shattered into pieces. He had encountered a formidable opponent, and on the other side, Zoro was facing a crisis. Back when he was a pirate hunter, Zoro had killed many pirates, accumulating numerous enemies. One pirate's brother, whom he had killed, was now treating Zoro as a plaything. However, this pirate had poor eyesight and completely missed the fact that the flying blades had pierced through his ropes.
And one more thing. Don't talk.
Nami used her last hidden tool to free Zoro from his restraints. Next, Nami and Zoro teamed up to confront Buggy's subordinates. However, at the same time, Luffy was enduring Buggy's torment. Because he couldn't match Buggy's power, Luffy was imprisoned. Buggy locked him inside a container filled with seawater, preventing Luffy from stretching. Buggy had figured out Luffy's background. Luffy cherished his straw hat, and Buggy happened to recognize the hat. The owner of the straw hat was a pirate named Shanks, who had once saved Luffy. Shanks had even sacrificed his own arm for Luffy, an act for which Luffy was immensely grateful. He had considered Shanks his guiding light over the years. Initially, Luffy wanted to follow Shanks, but Shanks had not accepted him as a crew member and had only given him his own straw hat. Since then, Luffy had cherished the hat as the most important thing in his life. Buggy could take his treasure map. Luffy knew that Zoro and the others would come to rescue him. After Luffy was released, he immediately spat out the treasure map. Buggy swiftly crawled over to retrieve it, but Luffy was in a hurry to get his hat back. Seeing this, Zoro stepped forward and attacked with his swords, slicing Buggy into several pieces. But it didn't take a second for Buggy to revert to his original form. Seemingly finding it boring, Buggy voluntarily split himself into many pieces. These body parts acted like his clones and allowed him to perform a split body technique, even catching Luffy off guard and pinning him down. Fortunately, Luffy spotted Buggy's weakness. He shouted box, and Nami immediately understood what he meant. Buggy's most critical body parts had been locked away. Now, even if he reassembled himself, he was nothing more than a dwarf. Luffy didn't pay much attention to Buggy. He put on his straw hat and unleashed his most powerful attack.
Whoa, 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 no, 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 wait. Bazooka!
Luffy successfully reclaimed the treasure map and entrusted it to Nami's care. Before leaving, he released all the trapped townspeople. He showed the townspeople a different kind of pirate, explaining that some marines did bad things, and some pirates did good things. When Luffy and his crew departed, all the townspeople bid them farewell. Luffy had won the hearts of the people, but he didn't realize that Shell's town had already been embroiled in turmoil. Kobe had become a Navy member in this town and had met his superior officer, Captain Garp, who had captured the previous pirate king. Upon learning that the treasure map was missing, Garp immediately began investigating. He found a lead pointing to Kobe without hesitation. Kobe betrayed Luffy.
Luffy. Straw Hat Pirate. You say his name is Luffy?
Yes, sir.
Luffy was completely unaware of these developments and was still daydreaming about his future pirate life. After the encounter with Buggy, he considered Nami and Zoro his most important companions. However, he had no idea about Nami's hidden background. She quietly entered the ship's cabin and retrieved a communication device.
It's me. You can tell him I have the map.
The three of them set out towards the treasure, but the ship was about to sink. They had no choice but to go ashore and purchase a new one. Luffy set his eyes on a ship with a goat's head and met Usopp from the village of Syrup. Usopp had an obsession with pirates from a young age. He would constantly ring the village's alarm bell and shout that pirates were coming. Usopp's father was a pirate, and he hoped that his father would return soon, so he would often create false alarms in the village. However, after hearing the boy who cried wolf story too many times, the villagers no longer believed Usopp, which would become a significant problem in the future. When Usopp heard that Luffy wanted to buy a ship, he immediately took them to the mansion of the ship's owner.
Oops, you know, there's actually a more exclusive entrance back this way.
The butler was disdainful of Luffy and his crew's clothing, so he had them change into different outfits. Luffy was puzzled about why they needed so many clothes. Even if they changed clothes every day, it seemed like they wouldn't be able to wear them all.
I bet I can convince Kaya to give us that ship.
And when you can't.
We go with your plan. Steal one and move on.
The three of them picked out their respective outfits. Zoro had a feeling that the butler looked familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him before. During the evening banquet, Luffy directly revealed his pirate identity to Kaya. He wanted to convince Kaya to give him the ship with the goat's head. However, the butler angrily took Kaya away. Kaya was in poor health, and she couldn't make many decisions for herself. It seemed that Luffy and his crew would have to move on to the next part of their plan. At night, Zoro and Luffy went to the kitchen to find something to eat, while Nami started her old profession of stealing things. Unfortunately, he accidentally entered Kaya's room.
So, you are a pirate, after all.
I hate pirates. But I am who I am. And I won't apologize for that.
To be honest, I find some of the decor to be a bit gaudy. I prefer to donate it to charity.
I'm not charity.
Nami and Kaya began chatting while Zoro and Luffy met Usopp in the kitchen. Luffy told Usopp about their current adventure, and Usopp was very excited but reluctant to leave. He couldn't bear to part with Kaya, especially considering her poor health. Usopp believed that Kaya needed his company, and most importantly, he needed to stay here in case his father returned.
Yes, sir. He's your dad?
Yeah, why, you heard of him?
Heard of him? I know him! He's a part of Shanks' crew!
Luffy was thrilled by the prospect. Zoro suggested that they go to the wine cellar to chat while having drinks, but Luffy wasn't interested in drinking. He stayed in the kitchen to eat. There was a pot with green soup on the stove, and Luffy grabbed it and drank it all in one go. He had no idea that things were not peaceful in the wine cellar. As soon as Zoro and Usopp arrived there, they found a dead body on the floor, killed by 5 sword slashes. Zoro recognized the method of the murder, but before he could recall who the murderer might be, the culprit appeared before them. The culprit turned out to be Kaya's butler, who was actually the notorious pirate Captain Kuro with a bounty on his head.
So I will collect the bounty tonight.
Even the chef and servants were members of Kuro's crew. Usopp quickly escaped the scene and went door to door warning that pirates were coming. However, he had lied so many times before that no one believed him this time. After Usopp left, Kuro's men disposed of the body on the floor. Zoro was thrown into a waste well, and his beloved swords were also left with him. It was going to be a long night. Usopp didn't find anyone to help, but someone unexpected was on their way.
I believe you.